You thought you were catching Pokemon. How did a mobile game morph into a military-grade intelligence platform? This wasn't born in Silicon Valley's gaming center. It was created by a venture capital check signed directly by the CIA. In the summer of 2016, the largest civilian surveillance program in modern history was deployed globally, and it came disguised as a Pikachu on a smartphone screen. Millions of players thought that they were catching Pokemon. In reality, they were mapping urban combat zones for drones and intelligence agencies. When Pokemon Go launched, millions of people stared through their camera lenses, wandering blindly, but beneath the augmented reality craze, something darker was brewing. The massive harvesting of real-time, ground-level mapping data on a scale no state intelligence agency had ever dreamed of. The audacity of this data heist was incredible. The initial iOS release unknowingly granted full account access. They were handing their Google accounts to the developer to read emails, view search histories, and access private photos. And when cybersecurity researchers exposed this little quirk, developer Niantic dismissed it as an error, and the media accepted the apology. The outrage went away. The global player base kept playing. But all those exposed emails were just a distraction. The real asset was the smartphone camera itself, tethered to the device's GPS, gyroscope, accelerometer. By turning physical movement into a game, Niantic crowdsourced a global surveillance network. Players had been transformed into an unpaid map-making group and gave their cellular data, electricity, and physical labor for free, infiltrating spaces that overhead spy satellites could never catch. It traces back to John Hank. Before building games, Hank was shaping foreign policy. He was a diplomat in Myanmar. He gained a background in intelligence long before entering the private sector. In 2001, his ambition became digitizing the physical Earth. He founded Keyhole Inc., a geospatial visualization firm named after keyhole reconnaissance satellites. The idea of taking satellite imagery and making it into an interactive 3D globe was pretty audacious for the dial-up era. Mainstream venture capitalists didn't understand how it could be useful, and they balked at the heavy infrastructure costs. But In-Q-Tel saw the opportunity and valued it immediately. In-Q-Tel was the government's first venture capital firm, and it was established by former CIA Director George Tenet. Washington, D.C. was losing the technology race to Silicon Valley, leaving agencies blind to digital threats. Tenet's solution was to give money to commercial startups with dual-use technologies. Under CEO Gilman Louie, In-Q-Tel identified Keyhole as a critical asset. Ground-level 3D mapping was essential for tactical operations. In 2003, In-Q-Tel invested money, and within weeks, Keyhole's software was integrated into the Pentagon mission planning for the war in Iraq. John Hank had built the military's premier visualization engine. To achieve global scale, he needed a host with infinite infrastructure. He needed Google. In 2004, Google acquired Keyhole, absorbing its intelligence-backed DNA to create Google Earth and Google Maps. Under Hank's direction, Google rolled out Street View, expanding from satellite imagery to vehicle-mounted photography. But cars are confined to roads, to map footpaths, building interiors. The sensors needed to be carried by people. Google granted Hank the resources to establish a startup, Niantic Labs. In 2012, they released Ingress, a massive multiplayer augmented reality game. Players believed they were fighting a global sci-fi cyber war. But Ingress was a behavioral modification engine designed for data extraction. Players verified GPS coordinates, performing free labor to build a massive proprietary database of pedestrian-accessible points of interest. By 2015, Google restructured into Alphabet Inc., and Niantic spun out as an independent entity. But Google retained a minority ownership position. Pokémon Go was released in July 2016 and used the portal databases built by the unpaid Ingress players. Every Pokestop and gym was a pre-mapped, human-verified coordinate. When tens of millions of users downloaded the game, they were walking predetermined patrol routes designated by an algorithm built on a CIA-funded geo-spatial engine. The public assumed they were consuming a Nintendo product. In reality, they installed a Google-backed tracking beacon, and the financial ecosystem surrounding Niantic was becoming darker. Pokemon Go would shatter revenue records, and Niantic's capitalization reflected its underlying value. An unparalleled intelligence asset. Months before the launch, early-stage technology investment firm Alsep Louis Partners invested into Niantic. The firm's partner, Gilman Louis, the same man who funded Keyhole as the CEO of the CIA's In-Q-Tel 15 years earlier, joined Niantic's board of directors. The architect of the intelligent community's venture capital strategy now held a high position over the largest crowdsourced surveillance network on Earth. And defense intelligence money kept rolling in. During Niantic's funding, Peter Thiel's Founders Fund joined the table. Thiel's crown jewel, Palantir Technologies, which is a massive predictive policing contractor for the CIA and NSA, and was also an early beneficiary of In-Q-Tel funding. Niantic provided a physical counterpart to Palantir's digital dragnet, a real-time map of the global human environment. Niantic's ties to the military intelligence became even deeper. In 2021, Niantic board member Gilman Louis co-founded America's Frontier Fund, a venture firm designed to fund deep tech startups critical to U.S. military dominance. Backed by Peter Thiel and Eric Schmidt, AFF's board reads like a shadow cabinet featuring former Secretary of Defense Ash Carter and the former Deputy Director of Science and Technology for the CIA. Pokémon GO was just an efficient, self-funding deployment mechanism. It was about to go from 2D tracking to 3D reconstruction. By 2020, knowing where a user stood on a 2D map was no longer good enough. Niantic incentivized players to perform AR scans for digital prizes like Pokeballs. Players slowly pan their smartphone cameras around buildings and public spaces recording video. By 2025, Pokemon Go players had unwittingly contributed over 30 billion images and environmental scans. They created the most comprehensive, high-fidelity 3D map of global urban infrastructure in existence. And with the data that was harvested, the corporate structure changed. In March 2025, Niantic sold its consumer gaming division to Scopely for $3.5 billion. The true intellectual property remained with John Hank. Niantic spun out its core technology into Niantic Spatial, targeting the robotics, autonomous vehicle, and military sectors. The military applications were used immediately. Niantic Spatial's 3D reconstructive platforms were fast-tracked for procurement by the Department of Defense. In electronic warfare environments where satellite GPS signals are jammed, military drones and ground troops can now use Niantic's camera-based AI to navigate by matching their surroundings against the 3D maps created by gamers. Niantic Spatial quickly partnered with Vanter to create a unified air-to-ground coordinate system for autonomous drones in GPS-denied combat zones. At the same time, they joined Project Orbion to create a live digital twin of the Earth, fusing Niantic's large geospatial model with satellite radar to train next-generation military AI and drone swarms using actual ground data. The paper trail has no ambiguity. Pokemon Go pretended to be a fun, lighthearted game, but in reality, it was an unprecedented crowdsourced intelligent gathering apparatus. It was funded by the CIA to map hostile territories, and once it exhausted using satellite photography, it adopted a gaming disguise to incentivize people to map the world. The ultimate consumer of this data was always the military and the autonomous machine sector. The intelligence community didn't need to wiretap phones or deploy fleets of surveyors. They just released a digital toy, and the public willingly mapped the world for them, piece by piece, blindly constructing the digital twin of the Earth that will guide the autonomous weapons of the future. I do appreciate you watching my videos, and please stay spooky.